The Google Maps feature can be used to type in an exact address. Let's start the tool, insert Google Maps image, and up will pop our dialog box. You can type directly into that box any address and Google Maps will find that address. So let's do that and we'll go, this is an address in Victoria, so we'll go and up pops the map. Now we can say we want a satellite version or we want a hybrid version of the map, and then we can zoom in as I'm doing now. So this is a design for a space in and around this building here. So you can see the number 233 is there, and we can get information on the building, but we're interested in producing a landscape design for this area around here, and we want the image as detailed as possible. So what I can do is keep magnifying my view and using the pan tool to pan around and then maybe shrinking the drawing again, like so. There's one boundary running along the right, a boundary of the site, the main building there. So this is the area through here that we're going to provide some walking paths and connect up with this footpath through here. So that provides me with a reasonable view. I want as many pixels as I can, and I just go OK. So gCADPlus will capture that image. You can see I've been playing here. I can put that image anywhere we want. I'll call this 233 road number 4, and I'll click Save. And then OK. The image is now inside the image manager in the gCADPlus environment. It's quite a respectable size, 1280 by 1280 pixels, and I can insert it and OK. So I can drop it down anywhere I like on the screen and just magnify the size. Now we want to scale it so that we can work in millimeters or meters, whatever is your preference, but remember that gCADPlus is set for millimeters. So for convenience, if we zoom in here, one of those parking bays will be very close to 2.7 meters or 2,700. So we can use the measure tool to measure quite accurately the width of that parking bay. You can see it's 3, so it's pretty close to 2.7. We could magnify it by 1,000 and then shrink it by a small amount, and we'd get pretty close. If we'd captured a Google Earth image, we could have switched on their scale bar, but I think knowing some information on the ground accurately helps in this scaling operation. So you could do the exact calculation for the scale factor, and it will be a little less than 1,000. Get your calculator out to work that out. But I'll select it and scale it just for convenience now. We'll mark a base point in there, and we'll scale by 1,000. And that will be, and then right click and zoom extents. And now if we zoom in here, if we measure a distance, we'll get fairly close to the figure that we want. What is it, 2.6, 2.7? It's very, very close, in fact. So I'm very happy with that. We now have an accurate base map, if you like, on its own layer that we can work with. So if you wanted to put some images in or some symbols in, you could just go to the library and say, I want plants, I want standard symbols. Up will pop our browse tool, and we pick this one here and insert into the drawing. We could position that directly over an insertion point. Now remember, that comes in at 1 meter, so we'd want to scale that by, let's say, the canopy diameter. We would have been on site. I suspect the tree is there, and that's the shadow being cast. Here's a shadow being cast there. So we'll scale that by about 6, I think. A bit too much, so we could reduce it. But I think it needs to be positioned there, and we'll shrink it by a little. So we'll scale down, and you can scale down by, say, 0.8, and we've got a pretty close match for the location of that tree, so you can work away, putting your existing vegetation in. See, here's another example, a big eucalypt, I imagine, running through there, might be one or a couple, and a big shadow. So can you see the advantage of using Google Earth to get information on that site without actually being there? Now at the moment I'm putting the symbol there on the same layer as our image. You might want to set some layers up so that you put those on separate layers. So we now have an accurate base map, accurately scaled, and we can start plotting existing trees and other structures onto the site, ready for our design exercise. So I've made a layer called Existing Vegetation, and now I'm just working my way around the site, trying to make intelligent guesses as to the location of each individual species and the shadow that's being cast. I mean, there's another one there, clearly a different species, so this symbol I think would do. So I'm just slightly varying the size of the symbol. So this is all work done in the office before you go on site. Take a print of this with you when you go on site, and then adjust and make an edit on site to get the particular species here recorded accurately and their canopy diameter just by pacing them out. So you'll be able to improve the accuracy of that existing vegetation. Let's zoom extents now, and we'll turn on another layer for our design work, and we can simply draw on top of, we'd leave the existing vegetation there because we want to design in and around them. So let's just have a look at the layers here. I've got one called, there's the Existing Vegetation Landscape Design, so I can make that current and take it off. And so now you can see I'm in the process of designing a path that will run through here, hopefully under those existing trees there. So you need to check that on site. The path will swing around through here and then branch and go back in here towards the building. And we're in the process of designing some interesting sort of features. This is a tall existing tree there, creating some shade. So this will be a focal point for some meetings outdoor, and we'll put some sort of sports track facility in this area here. So you can see the combination of Google Earth, where we can accurately plant things and dodge and deviate from the existing vegetation, works extremely well. You might play, if you wanted to use this sort of an approach. All I'm doing here is using, say, an ellipse to indicate a new species that's going to be planted in there, and these are similar species. We're strengthening that band of vegetation through there with an existing species. So the existing species there, the new planting there, and the same applies through here. So we've got symbols on different layers. These are pretty simple symbols, and I think I would prefer to use a slightly more elaborate symbol than just a circle, but what I have done with that circle is turn on a border to let it mark a little more effectively. So can you see the combination of Google Earth inside gCADPlus, using layers effectively and symbols effectively, means that you can lay your whole design out on top of it, and there's nothing wrong with you then, of course, going back to layers there and turning off the Google Earth boundary, and there's our design all accurately done. If we measure the diameter of this, the width of this path, it's give us a 2 meter width, and this one will be close to the approved 1200 millimeter wide. So we can accurately measure things, we can specify things, and get reasonably good landscape design, concept design in place. But I think we do need your existing vegetation mapped as well as your new strengthening planting program.